Hello and welcome to a new Workerbee video. We're back at you with a Creative Chit-Chat. My name is Eugene.
And I'm Becca, of course.
And we're the co-founders of Workerbee Supply, a creative video and photo production company here in beautiful Toronto. And how about we have a little bit of a catch-up chat?
I think it's been a while. You haven't seen my face in a bit, huh?
That's right. She's still here.
Yeah.
She's just been working really hard.
Usually just right there.
That's right. So, it's the beginning of a new year,
Yeah.
2022. We made it. And I thought we'd just kind of throw out the old rules a little bit.
Sure thing.
And just kind of go over a few things what's been going on in our life, kind of update you on some things, and maybe look forward a little bit as well.
Sure.
So why don't we start looking back on 2021?
Yeah.
I think a lot happened in the world, but also a lot happened for our business and our lives in general. Is there anything that stood out to you from 2021 or anything, whether it's things you did, places you've been, things you enjoyed?
Yeah.
Anything comes to mind?
Well, kind of towards the end of summer, beginning of September, we were very fortunate to go on a couple of like local trips, to more, up north in the Muskoka area and
weekendy,
and out
4-day
to
trips.
Quebec. What am I talking about? And
Yeah.
that was super cool and got a couple of hikes in, which we really enjoyed doing. So in terms of leisure, that was really fun. But then I ended up doing so much photography throughout the kind of the second half of summer and right into the fall, and it was that was very different than how I started the year. So that was really great, and it was followed by a whole lot of editing.
So what are some places we kind of, in lieu of traveling internationally, we've been trying to explore more of our province. We're in Ontario, Canada. Hello. So we've been trying to kind of get in and around and do little road trips, maybe a few hours outside of the city or just the next province over, and kind of renting Airbnbs, finding national parks or provincial parks in Canada here. And one of the coolest places we went to is Leviton, which is in Quebec. And it's kind of this huge forest property, conservation area, let's call it. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And they just built these really, they're not particularly fancy, but they're just really cool, off the grid, eco kind of cabins. But they are a little modernist and look cool and kind of really let you experience nature. So for me, that was definitely one of the highlights, going to that place.
Yeah.
And we liked it so much. In fact, we're going back there in a few months, hopefully, with our friends as well. So yeah, I think that place was really cool.
Yeah. There was a built-in rock or climbing wall in the cabin that I never fully took advantage of, so I'm definitely gonna hit that up when we get back. But there's a little beautiful stove / fireplace in there, so we used that a whole bunch, and that just kept the place so cozy. And it's very family friendly as well. So there's a climbing ladder, there's a loft area, and sort of a crawl space, and we would watch movies up there. So it was really, really cool. And
yeah, we'll link it down below for you.
my god! And the bed descended from the ceiling. So
we're not affiliated with them at all, or we pay to go there, but we found it through Instagram, so we'll share it down below. I know most of you are not coming from Canada, but in case you decide to make it up here, we would highly recommend stopping by there and experiencing some of the beautiful nature.
Super beautiful area. So,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I really had a lot of fun last year is when I started photography, I did a lot of architecture and interior design, and we shot so much stuff last year. And one of the unexpected things with the pandemic has been this kind of big push of architectural and interior work. Companies opening new offices, redesigning their offices, businesses opening up in new spaces. And we've been lucky enough to do with our colleague Arash Malemi a lot of architectural interiors, and especially a lot of architectural videos, which has been really cool and satisfying. I remember when I was primarily an architectural photographer, we would talk about doing video, but it wasn't really on people's radar in a big way. And it was always kind of hard to sell them on it. Architects use photography to win awards and pitch projects. But now with the pandemic, people realizing kind of the value of kind of bringing people to places in a more evocative way, as well as speaking to their teams, and kind of showing them the work they have going on and keeping them connected to their business and company without actually being in the office. So in a weird way, we actually got to see a lot of the new offices that these companies have been designing in anticipation of their staff returning back to work.
which was really cool for like two freelancers who just work from home or from this office space. So.
Ironically, we've been probably to more offices, than
than any of the people they're actually meant for.
So they do look nice once you get there.
Yeah, I think what's like really interesting is when you were saying you're starting out and doing like architecture, which was like over 10 years ago.
Just spilled coffee a little bit on myself, but it's okay.
It's all right. We never have coffee again during these videos. When you were starting doing architecture photography a few years ago, you're saying video wasn't really on the radar. I think like video production has just gotten so much more accessible because of the tools that we have now.
Yeah.
So in terms of getting like beautiful shots of the surrounding area or the building, we have drones to do that. In terms of getting really steady shots, you have gimbals to do that, which have like really only grown in popularity in the past 5+ years. Compared to 10 plus years ago. So you can get these like really beautiful shots as a result. Yeah, that's my observation.
One of the things kind of touching off that is we did get a lot of new gear last year. So we talked a little bit about it in a previous Creative Chit-Chat, so we'll link it up here if you want to check out like why we switched to Sony cameras specifically. But maybe just like real quick, what's your top level review now having used a year of the new Sony cameras? Obviously you're using mostly the photo camera, me using mostly the video camera. The photo camera is the A7R4 and the video camera is the FX3. What's like been the biggest difference to you?
I gotta be honest, focus has been amazing. Sorry. Just that was so stressful with our old camera system, and
which was a Canon 5D Mark IV.
Yeah, sorry, Canon. And it was so frustrating because like every time you would go into like a portrait shoot or whatever, you're like, I'm gonna nail focus. I have the best intentions. This is gonna be great. But lo and behold, it would just like never happen. And now with the Sony, just because of like the tracking capabilities or like the face recognition, the focus or like just taking the picture is just so much more reliable, which has been great because I shot a lot of families over the summer and kids are running around and a lot of things can be happening in the frame and like it always gets it, which is really great.
Well, before you shooting, you'd shoot, and then you pause and kind of look through every photo at 100% and be like, oh, like,
and just be like, one moment.
Half of them are out of focus. Yeah, okay, let's redo that. And it's just like a waste of time and a waste of hard drive space where most of the photos are blurry.
And I will say also in terms of culling the pictures afterward, I can for the most part like reliably know each picture's in focus. I don't have to zoom in every time, which was annoying on an older, slower computer as well.
Yeah, does anyone know, is there like an AI either for like Lightroom or another software that could just go through the photos and find the out of focus ones? This seems like it should be super simple to do, and I think I've heard kind of rumblings, but yeah, if you know software or a plugin that does that, please let us know in the comments. We'd really appreciate it.
And otherwise, like the camera body's slightly smaller, so that's nice. We've been able to use our Sigma lenses because of the adapter we got, so we saved some money there, which is great, and very familiar with using those lenses, and I love them. It's been great. I was so stressed out when we were like talking about switching, but it's been great, and like even using the menu has been simple, you know, because you only really like need to use. There's like a set amount of functions that you're going through. You don't have to always hit up the menu for everything.
So for me, it's very similar. Like the focus was like a huge issue, but also the quality, like the visual 42 10-bit quality of the FX3 has been amazing. Even as well as focus in interviews, you know, like not kind of hunting. We were on Lumix GH5 before. And similarly, I think, you know, being able to use kind of full frame lenses before we were not on full frame sensor, and I really like it, like just kind of the fall off. Often we're shooting in like tight spaces, not too dissimilar from this, and to have it like fall out of focus even a little bit more just kind of, you know, separates the background and makes it a lot nicer. Awesome. So before we move on to the next thing, I just want to get your like pop culture kind of you know, flashback. Is there like a thing? I think for me, the Marvel series and like Star Wars to a smaller degree, but like the Marvel series have been really awesome, and I've like really loved Loki, Winter Soldier, WandaVision. We watched twice now. So and
oh man,
we're now,
what a way to start the 2021 with WandaVision. That was great.
So is there any media stuff you really enjoyed or similar?
Well, I think one show that had like a pretty big impact on us was also Snowpiercer. We really enjoyed.
Oh my God, yes, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, it was funny because I think we'd watched a trailer on Netflix 2 to 3 times, and we're like, okay, we just kind of
It's
start
like
watching
forgettable,
this show.
but you'd see the thumbnail of it.
Yeah,
You'd be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, that looks kind of cool. Like,
Beautiful, very like
yeah.
epic of like the characters'
Yeah.
faces, and like, oh my gosh, Daveed Diggs was fantastic in it. Jennifer Connelly, I've said it so many times, she's so beautiful, but
This is
so
a TV show.
The TV show, yes, yes. And so the 3rd season's going to be coming out soon, but it's sci-fi if you're into that, but it's also has like a mystery aspect to it in a couple of different ways, and just like really fantastic character growth, really great action.
Cool world building,
yeah.
set design.
Oh, yeah. So obviously it had a big impact on us, so that was really fun to enjoy together. Kind of, what else have we enjoyed? I feel like there were a lot of series we got into last year. I've kind of been exploring from like just the tail end of last year into now, learning more about like the history of the Muppets and Jim Henson. I'm reading a biography right now about that. So that's been really great. You've been getting a bit more into it. So what else? I don't know.
I mean, Snowpiercer is a great reco. We also watched the movie, which like we didn't love as much, but it's a very different tone. But if you're looking for something that you really want to dive into, highly recommend checking out Snowpiercer. There's 2 seasons.
Yes.
And
well, it'd be a great time to start because the 3rd season's coming out soon. It is like maybe a touch gory, but like not particularly bad or anything. Well,
it's fine.
Teach their own.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not. It's I would say it's like family friendly. I don't know, but seeing as we don't have a family, who knows?
Okay.
The other thing I'll touch on is Formula One.
Oh, of course.
So we've been
The thing
watching
that absorbs our
F1
lives.
for a couple seasons now, but oh man, if you were following this season, it was an epic season with a really dramatic, controversial ending, which we're still dealing with the fallout from. So we're really excited for Netflix Drive to Survive to get a sort of dramatized peek behind the curtain. But yeah, honestly, I don't know if I have much to say about it. If you are curious about it, watch Netflix Drive to Survive to get introduced to it.
Yeah.
If you're not curious about it, too bad. And if you know about it, then tell us, what you thought of the Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton finish. How did that play out? Let us know in the comments. Or just, throw a little race car in there to let us know you're also a fan.
That's sweet. I like that.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right, so moving on to the next section, there's I want to do a bit of a deep dive still.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's really been incredible for me to watch personally is over the last year, you really develop like a portrait style.
Yeah.
And not really like to say, you started at the beginning of the year and you developed it by the end of it, but you've had the style of portraits emerge that we are now getting a lot of requests for, and people specifically call out specific projects or kind of like talk about the aesthetic of those photos. So I kind of wanted to interview a little bit on it.
I have things to say.
So first of all, I'm curious, before this or many years ago or when you were in school, I know a lot of people really struggle, what's my style? I need a style. Probably because, when you're pitching for jobs early on, people are like, you need to be different and you need to have your own creative vision. Is this something that worried you a lot when you were younger? Were you really consumed with developing an aesthetic or a visual fingerprint kind of? Or it wasn't really on your radar?
Well, in terms of being in school or just out of school?
Just in, out, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting because my big when I really started to develop my photography career was because of weddings. And I started shooting weddings in 2013, which is when I feel like there were a lot of different styles kind of coming out, like the light and airy style, or the sort of I live in Southern California or Nevada style.
Or the Harry Styles.
The Harry Styles. Watermelon sugar. But so that I was always kind of figuring out. I really kind of went for a light and airy style, but then when it comes down to it, and this is what I've developed to this day, is I really love natural and colorful. And I don't go too dark and moody. I don't go too light and bright and sort of washed out. Both of those styles are beautiful in their own way, but I think I've just always really loved color, and I always want that to come through in my pictures with really natural contrast. And I never knew if that really stood out too much, but now I'm realizing that in the natural look, that's my style. Like that real life look is my style. I don't know if that answered the question in terms of portraits.
And when everyone's kind of trying to do these like extreme
sort of
edits,
a visual style,
you know, it becomes doing like a clean, nice, like natural edit becomes like really unique in a weird way. And also, I mean, I wouldn't say you're just like a kind of natural, because the photos are very like almost like dramatized a little bit.
Yeah. Like there's a pop to them.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah, so I guess like, how do you feel, like why do you feel you were drawn to that? Like I think a lot of people watching our videos, you know, they are like creators or creative people, and a lot of them are a bit younger than us. So like, what would you say to someone who's like really eager? I had you know, a mentor of mine and colleague, Chris Buck. I believe he once said to me something like, you know, you find your subject matter and your style finds you eventually. So you go out in the world and shoot. And if you want to know more about Chris Buck, we did awesome What the Hell Do You Do interview with him, which is really insightful. We'll link it down below and you can watch it right here. But I kind of always, for a while, I try to really like push developing a style.
Yeah.
But eventually you just kind of, I decided just like shoot what I want and kind of just like, you know, work with the images, and it's sort of like your own style comes out of that somehow. So maybe like, what would you say to people who are like really either struggling with it or feel like, you know, it's like really bothering them?
So I think what it kind of comes back to, now that you mentioned that, is that like I got into wedding photography because of like one specific wedding photographer in the city whose style I loved and whose editing style I loved. And I kind of wanted to like achieve that, and then these like other overlapping styles were kind of coming in because those were like trendy at the time. But then you eventually do kind of just fall into an edit that kind of jives with you, and you can like make small tweaks here and there, but like overall it's remained quite consistent. So like I think as you grow as well, you can come across, and of course with like Instagram, we have different photographers are so accessible to us now. You can find like new forms of inspiration. So like even this year alone, I came across a family photographer in Seattle whose work like I absolutely adore, and like I still can't figure out how she achieves her edits. But even like aside from editing specifically, just how she like frames her subjects and how much space, like breathing room, she gives to her subjects within the frame, which I know is from because she loves shooting on a 24 or 35 millimeter lens, which now I've tried to kind of work into my family photography as well. I used to always start with a 50, now I start with a 35 and kind of go from there. But yeah, in terms of like...
I think actually that's a good point though. Like, you know, a lot of people, they have, like you're saying, they find inspiration online and they kind of gravitate towards the look that they want to like achieve, right? But then I think a lot of people stop there. But what is important is to always keep trying new stuff. Like, you know, like you kind of like reach that and then you go like, okay, well, my shots are looking kind of like the same focal length. So like, let me go into a shoot, and for the first like 15 minutes, I'm going to shoot with a way wider lens, or I'm going to shoot super shallow, or I'm going to come up really close, or I'm only going to shoot vertical, or I'm only going to shoot really wide, you know? And I think through that, you start kind of like building, that's how you kind of move past just like copying people to some degree and like trying to imitate their aesthetic. But then also kind of like you start to developing your own things that you're drawn to, because you kind of like take that base and you can like slowly add to it, you know, add like a different look or a different aesthetic, or combine it with like a different lighting. And one of the most interesting things for me is like to be aware that your tools will kind of like dictate your style, you know? So for me, I really liked when I was starting out, like really formal, kind of very composed images. So I bought like a really heavy tripod to kind of mimic working with a 4.5 camera, so that it would create a certain type of image, you know? And similarly, like if you have a big strobe light that you always use, that will kind of like dictate your style a bit. So trying new things and kind of being open to learning, which I think, you know, both of us do a lot, really helps evolve it, keep things fresh, and also probably keep things interesting for you, because I know it would get super boring. Like, you know, I think a lot of like wedding photography, you fall into this like formulaic, you know, people want to hire you for the XY shot, so you go and do that shot because you always need to do it, and you kind of like, each wedding looks amazing, but like you pull back and they're all kind of the same.
Yeah, no, that's true. But that, what I wanted to kind of touch on, pushing more into like portraits and how I've developed this style. In 2019, I was just shooting a lot of portraits because we had one client where we visited the same type of location. It was a veterinarian clinic, just to make it simpler. And I was shooting portraits of the team members, or the techs and the vets and whatnot. And so that's kind of where I developed like this style. And I think a big part of when I'm shooting portraits is really using the background and the outside environment, which is where I would be shooting them, to kind of like suit the personality and mood of the person, even though I just met them. So I'm kind of like creating like a nice little world for the people within this picture, which I really, really like doing. And I shot a couple of like editorial portraits as well, but I just like love kind of like placing someone in the environment, and you kind of have to look at the whole frame and things. Like, I don't know, like I like creating like a mood and a style for that person and kind of drive off the personality that they're giving me, or, the sort of feedback that they're providing me.
Even just their energy,
exactly.
Their
Sorry, that's the word
style,
I'm looking for, energy, yeah. And like, I have really enjoyed also incorporating like sort of some small like model techniques into it, where like I get people to kind of play with their hair a lot, or just like use their hands in an interesting way, kind of take one of those like a step forward, just to add a little bit of like interest and movement. And that's been really fun to play with. And that's just strictly from looking at like, gathering inspiration of photos from Google, dropping them into a Pinterest board, looking at other like editorial or like portrait photographers that I really like and look up to, and just like trying to keep them in mind and use them in a shoot. Because sometimes, again, you can have best intentions and then you start to get a little nervous, or like
the shoot gets away from you a little bit.
Yeah, or like you only have so much time and you want to hit up so many different spaces, which is often how our shoots have to play out, or do play out sometimes.
Yeah.
So you're like, but that's all practice. And I think because I was shooting so many portraits in 2019, that gave me the opportunity to develop that. 2020 was a bit different, but again, this year we really went back to shooting lots of different portraits of people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I think, if you have any other questions about working on your style, developing, drop them in the comments below. I'm sure you can dive in and answer, and I will as well. But yeah, it's been really exciting for me to see. So thanks for sharing kind of like your take on it. So let's look forward now. The year is young, and so are we. But this year, I think is a lot of stuff is going to happen, both in our work and personal lives. So maybe to kick things off, we're going to be moving into our first home together, which is very exciting. We're still here in Toronto. Yeah. Not sure exactly when that'll be ready to move into, but hopefully in the first half of the year we'll be in there. And also, part of it is we're going to be getting rid of this office, which is kind of sad, but I don't know, is there anything about that you want to say, or?
Well, it's because we're going to be moving out of the office and doing like a work from home setup. I keep doing finger quotations. I'm so sorry.
It definitely will be a work from home setup, so there's no quotations,
I know. I just like the work from home saying, but decorating that space.
Yeah.
And I hope to take you guys along on that journey as well, as we kind of figure out the style that we want, the configuration of the room. So
do you have any kind of workspace YouTubers? I know there's a lot of interior design YouTubers, which we watch, and they're great. But is there anything workspace related? One of the people we watch a lot is Becky and Chris, and Becky does a lot, and I'm sure Chris helps, a lot of the interior stuff and kind of really wonderful breakdowns of it. But if there's anyone else you like to follow that has either photography or video or just general cool design sense, we'd love to know, because we're gonna need that.
Speaking of things we watched this year, I hit up home interior and DIY YouTubers so much.
Is there anyone you really like that you want to share?
Of course. Well, Becky and Chris, of course. They're just the best. The Sorry Girls, they're local to Toronto, so that's really fun. And then through the Sorry Girls, we also learned about Lone Fox, Drew, who's just such a wizard at DIY and has really great style. And then I also learned about another YouTuber in Vancouver recently, Nick something. We can link to them in the description. He's really great too, and I just like the format of his videos. So they've just been really comforting to watch, because we've spent so much time at home, but we're also moving into a fresh space that we got to decorate. So exciting.
Yeah, so one of the things, I'm really looking forward to is...
Oh, and Mr. Kate. That was the other one. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
One of the things I'm really looking forward to is, this is the first year I really feel our business is really moving on its own. We have, constant inquiries about work. We can be a little pickier about projects we take on. But also we have a couple potential like art projects on the horizon that we might be working on. So I'm really looking forward to like the wide variety of work we're gonna do, but also specifically like working with other people. We started doing that a little bit more, hiring, like sound people for our shoots, working with makeup artists. So it's been really great, and I think that's something, I always, starting out, you're kind of like doing everything yourself, which is good to a degree, but to really like move forward to the next level of like production quality and scale of shoots, and also like how much work you can do in a year, you need to work with other people and people who are more talented with you. So yeah, last year we worked with stylists, like a big like prop stylist for the first time a lot. We worked with a lot more agencies directly. We had assistants, we had sound people. Right now we're doing our first like sound mixing. So all that stuff's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to finding more kind of freelancers and people to partner with and studios that we can kind of like expand the amount of work we're able to do. And also, frankly, give me and you a little bit of time off. As well as working with retouchers and editors as well. So yeah, I think looking forward, I'm not really one to make like New Year's resolutions per se. I usually have, the way I do it is like I usually have a couple habits that I'm working on just throughout the year. And I like when I really nail one, I move on to the next one. But then I also kind of think broadly of like trends I want to go. And I think this year those trends are like work with, like bring on more people to help us with production. And also I really want to like move forward with starting another business that we have. We've been juggling a couple around and done a few tests last year of different ones. So there's a few opportunities I'm not going to talk about in detail right now, but I'm really excited to spend more time and hopefully in addition to our kind of like production, start developing another business on the side. But is there anything, first of all, do you make resolutions? How do you think about that kind of thing? Or
no, I've never made really. For like a couple of years, like New Year's like always really stressed me out, or like the beginning of a new year. I think that was just tied into like my work at the time, which was wedding photography. That would just really stress me out, and I was never quite happy. But now I don't do that anymore, and we're working so consistently now on different projects that when we wrap all of them up come like Christmas break, it's a nice peaceful break for the most part, and then
dive right back
in, which is like where we are now. But I think like if you actually want to think about like a year as like January to December and not just time continually passing by, each year always brings so many amazing opportunities, so many new jobs. You don't know what's gonna like
super unexpected.
Yeah, fall into your inbox, and I think like that's what I really look forward to. And even just the emails we've received in like the past couple of weeks have been exciting. So yeah, it's not really make resolutions. I don't know, like a couple personal things, like maybe I want to like meditate more. I did a 3-day streak and then I haven't done it for 2 days. So like, but you have to be like lax and just give yourself a break sometimes with that, or not be too hard on yourself. But it's great. I'm really like looking forward to this year. And then of course we're in January. It's super, super cold today in Toronto. We just have the summer to look forward to. So like, that's pretty much it.
So I think to wrap things up, we really want to thank you all for coming on board. We've had so many new subscribers join over the last year. It's been really incredible and gives us a lot of energy to make more videos, make better quality videos for you. So thank you, first of all, so much for coming on board.
Leaving your questions and comments.
Oh my God, it's so great.
Yeah.
I feel like I've really found the type of video to make also with the kind of behind the scenes shoot videos. We've done a bunch of them now and the response has been fantastic. So we're going to keep making them. Some of the ones are like the floating product photos, the exploding food shot, the water splash shot we just did.
The grid photo that you did.
The grid pattern really photo. Yeah. So if there's any kind of like type of shoot breakdown or product shoot or portrait shoot you want to see, like how do you create that look or how do you get that style, please let us know in the comments below. We'll make a video for you about it. And similarly, if you need help with anything, like you're curious about kind of like the things we're working on and how you could do that, or maybe more practical questions, we're totally an open book. Drop your questions, DM us on Instagram. We're at WorkerBeeSupply there. you can always connect.
And if there's anything I like touched upon or mentioned that you'd like to learn more about, like let me know, because I'm definitely happy to talk about it more. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for watching. It's been a pleasure just kind of catching up. We're gonna definitely try to do more of these this year and kind of keep connected with you. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. We hope you have a great week ahead of you, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.